Hello, and welcome to Confessions of a Successful Leader, hosted by me, Andrew Tallents, the self-coaching expert. In each episode of the show, we hear the insightful confessions of a successful leader who wants to inspire others to live their professional and personal dreams. I am always keen to hear your feedback, particularly in relation to the kinds of leaders you would like me to invite onto the show in future. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rich insights from our special guest.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Successful Leader, hosted by me, Andrew Tallents, the self-coaching expert. I'm delighted that Lauren Tickner has joined me in the studio today. Welcome, Lauren.
Well, thanks for having me. You're doing great things for your people, so it's a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, and we'll find out where you are later. I'm very jealous. The audience will find out later. But to start with, Lauren, we always get to know our guest a little bit. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, both professionally and personally.
Yeah, so personally, I am an avid gym goer. I love hiking and all things nature. Quite an outdoorsy person, actually. So that's what keeps me inspired and motivated. And funnily enough, even though what you may find about me online is that I'm a very online person, I actually really like being offline, and I really prefer to not be on my phone or check my laptop for periods of days at times. I've been in the online coaching consulting space for the last almost 12 years at this point, and started out at a really young age via leveraging social media. So I got really good at using the social media platforms in order to build audiences. And then from there, I then had to figure out the business piece, which was a bit challenging for me at first because I never really understood, okay, once I have the attention, what do I do that and funnel that into? So that's been what I've been focusing on over the last 8 years or so. And so now my focus really is on helping entrepreneurs, specifically online entrepreneurs, build and scale coaching businesses, which give them freedom and time back in a way that they can actually not be glued to their phone 24/7. And so it was a shift I had to go through. And so now it's something that I'm helping others with.
Super, great. And we're going to list back to your childhood. So there are many guests that have been on the show who are very open about what their childhood was about. And sometimes we have role models, sometimes it's more challenging. So take us back to your childhood environment and what was going on for you back then.
I think the thing that for me led me to where I am today, and I'm in Bali right now, you just briefly mentioned it, and I was actually in an energy healing session a couple of weeks ago, and she said something to me that I hadn't really thought about previously, because my younger brother is disabled, and so he's 2 years younger than me. And so when I was little, my parents would like spend a lot of time with him, right? And so naturally as a child, I used to just be like my brother's so annoying, like, because I'm a child, right? I'm just thinking my little brother's annoying. But subconsciously, it definitely like imprinted into my mind that I need to do actions that get my parents' attention. And this energy healer said to me, even before she and I started speaking, she's like, you have like a tight throat chakra, and like you've got some suppressed emotions there that you need to like release because you haven't spoken up and said the things that you wanted to say. And you're someone who has definitely overachieved in order to get attention from your parents. And anyways, we went through this session for like 2.5 hours, and by the end of it, yeah, I definitely realized that was for sure true, because I was never good at anything when I was younger. I was absolutely slap bang in the middle average. And it kind of drove me crazy because like in my school and stuff when I was a kid, they used to commend you for being smart, because I went to a grammar school turned private school, right? So the whole thing was about being academically intelligent. And I was just so average in sport, in everything. Music is so average. And I think when I finally was about 17 years old, when I actually got my first car, and I started to have my job when I was like 16, washing dishes and stuff, I realized I actually have freedom. I can go wherever I want. I have my own money. And I think at that point, I kind of just like pivoted to not really caring about what anyone thought about me and just doing whatever it takes to get to be the very best I could. So like, for example, some stupid reason I chose to do French as an A level. I mean, why did I do that when I could have done something simple like biology? But anyway, I did French and I couldn't speak any French. In fact, I hated French, and that's why I chose it. And so I was so bad at it. I was getting D's and C's, right? And this was just not cool in my school. And I used to have like in the sixth form center, they would have like a break in the afternoon or something. Can't really remember now, but I just remember when all my friends were just chilling and chatting, for 2-3 hours when nothing else was going on. I was just learning French because I went in this weird like detour where I was so on one track for like getting into the normal life, right? Like the normal corporate role, etc. And then suddenly, I don't know what happened, but I just totally pivoted. And then there was like a period of like 5 or 6 years where anything I would touch would turn to gold. And then obviously I had to have the humbling experiences that we all have to go through. So I'll leave it there for now. But yeah, this energy healer listen, I'm not like this woo-woo person, but she was psychic. She was definitely psychic. It was very crazy.
Well, it's interesting you raise that, and there's going to be more research that we release soon about, feeling energies of people. And we do this naturally if we're really good at building rapport in terms of relationships. It's because we're unconsciously feeling that energy and working with that. So the fact that she's been able to do that, and it's very normal for people to come on the show who are founders or chief executives of organizations where they've had that in their childhood. Either they've been the overlooked child, they've been the one that lost their parent when they're younger. Whatever it is, it just means we have this inner steel and resilience, which we'll go into your story, serves us very well in our early days of being driven, but sometimes can get in the way when we're trying to build remote teams, which I know you have done. So we'll go into that later. Take us back then. I'm always interested in this question, and I don't know the answer because we've not spoken about this, but when can you remember having your earliest dream about what it was you wanted to do with your life?
So I always wanted to be a female CEO. I just like had this vision of wearing this suit and just being all cool in the office, right? Which is kind of interesting because I never particularly cared about like being a woman, being successful in like a male kind of dominated space. That's never really been something that's crossed my mind. I just thought I can do it, and I'm smart enough to do it, so I can, and I can put my mind to it. You know what? It's really interesting. I remember probably I used to play these games when I was like 7 or 8 in like my parents' Facebook account, I think it was, something like that. And I just was obsessed with it. Not so that I didn't want to win. I just wanted to do it well, and I wanted to do it thoroughly. And so the first time I can remember must have been around then. I would like find stuff around my parents' house as well, and I would ask them, are you still using it? And if not, I would sell it on eBay. Like my mum would give me her login. And I didn't know back then what it was. It was like copywriting, right? I learned how to do the listings and stuff on how to sell that thing and make the auction go crazy. And it was just so fun. So while I had these like ambitious goals in my teenage years to be a female CEO, it's like I always enjoyed more the actual doing of it. Like even now, candidly, just take pride from doing the stuff. I can't even put it into words. Like I don't care if I don't make money from it for like months and months and months and months and months, or even ever, as long as it's like feeling this great sense of accomplishment. And I think that's what it is. It's like doing something, and then at the end, there's some reward in the real world where you know that what you did was good. So that came actually, I think the earliest days I can remember is like on a Friday night at like 7 p.m. setting the auctions to end then, because that's when a lot of people would be online and bidding.
Yeah.
So that was probably
yeah,
that's probably like the time that I can remember. These days were so good, and I was so young. Like it's actually crazy to think, but I didn't feel young at that time. When was it for you? I'm curious now.
Yeah, no, for me, probably, 16, something like that. Similar, I'd written down, I think it was the school that asked me to write down, what it is you wanted to do in the future, and had these visions about living in Switzerland with a family and stuff. So not made it there yet. But let's take you back to role models for you, because bearing in mind that your parents were certainly focused on, obviously, your younger brother, which I get, and you were talking about your school. Who were those role models around you at that time that you could actually either shape yourself around or look to, or to influence you at that point?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't even think that it's that my parents were spending all their time with my brother. I think it's just that like the level of volume of energy. If you think about, like when you suddenly sprint for like 10 seconds, your heart rate goes up on the chart. And so there's like directional energy going towards that thing heavily for a small amount of time. I feel like it was more like that. It's just like that intense energy for a very short period of time will go towards him. And I think when you're a kid, back to the energy piece, you feel that energy. And then you're like, well, why don't I get that type of like love, quote unquote, So I always struggle with this question of role models, if I'm honest, because I don't feel like I have role models. And that's really interesting. What I think that I look for is I look for people who embody values that I align with. And so this has changed for me as I have like learned more about myself and sharpened further my values. Because people who potentially in the past I had looked up to as a role model, maybe then I like learned something about them that in one area of their life, I don't align with that value. So then for them as a whole, I can't necessarily look to them as somebody that I want to model. So what I try to do is I try to find people who have great knowledge or great values in certain areas, and then I can look and compartmentalize it for that specific area. But then I try not to like look to them as a whole, because for example, I'm just going to use a really random name. The first random person that came to my mind, I do not want to be like this guy, but like Elon Musk, right? Insane entrepreneur, like to the point where it's ridiculous. And any entrepreneur should at least look at what he's doing to think, how can he even do this, right? But then if I look at how like he treats women or runs his family, it's just not particularly interesting for me, right? So I don't role model that. So to be honest, I don't really know how to answer that question, and it's actually a good one for me to think about how to craft this more. But I'm always thinking more from the lens of values, and getting to know my values and making sure that I actually live by my values consistently is the most important thing for me.
Well, let's build on that. It's really thanks for that answer. In terms of you then going into your professional career, leaving school, how did that manifest for you in terms of then what you chose to do and who to be around in terms of those values?
Well, I think the decisions that happened over the next couple of years very clearly show my values, because so I went to university. Well, first of all, I went and worked in corporate, okay? Because I wanted to do a placement year. And so I did get one. I actually had to fight against like more than 1,000 other people in these assessment days. And somehow I got this role, right? I think I talked my way into it. So I got that in asset management. And after 8 months, I quit because it was just so painful. I actually handed in my notice the day after I got my bonus, which was looking from the other way around. If my employee did that to me now, I'd be so upset. Like, what have I done in my culture to actually cause this type of behavior? So that was one thing. And then after that, I went up to university, and I was meant to be studying economics and politics, but I changed it to business administration because I went on the website of the Uni of Bath and it said UK's #1 business degree. So I was like, oh, cool. I guess I can't handle the corporate world, so I better go and learn how to build a business. And yeah, I stayed there for a year and a half, and then I dropped out because I already have my own business. And so basically, I think as one of my values, like my #1 value is freedom. And I found that those roles that I was in back then and those things that I was doing just didn't align with me and who I was. And for a really long time, I tried to be normal. Like I tried to be like everybody else around me. And then I looked around and I'm like, well, these people are constantly getting drunk. They're ripping cigs. Like they're totally out of shape. They don't like what they're doing. They are not in a relationship that is passionately loving and romantic and allows them to like build a stable base for their future. I was thinking, that's really, really interesting. Like, do I actually want to be normal? And then I had this kind of internal crisis because I had tried really, really hard to be really normal, and I was able to accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish. It felt so empty, and I just felt like an alien in these rooms. And then I actually started getting invited, because I was posting on social media at the time about my love of fitness. I started getting invited to these events, and all of the other people there, they were running their own business. They were doing like freelance marketing. It's like, you're allowed to do that? Like you can have your own business even at this age? Like, don't you have to be like in your 40s, 50s or 60s to do that? And then I was just open up to this whole entire world of all these people who were just like me. They didn't want to conform to the normal sort of, rules, and they wanted to have freedom and to be able to do the things that they wanted to do in their day, but also like find joy in the work that they were doing just because they liked it. So a lot of these girls, they were like writing blogs, and they just liked writing, and they got paid to do it, and they could travel. And funnily enough, one of my friends, he was actually a YouTuber, and he was going on a trip to Bali, and I was so jealous. And I just remember thinking, I just wish I could go somewhere and just make content about it. And so that's what I did for like a few years. It was great. It was fun. And then I realized like I really like business. And so then pretty much how I got into what I do now.
No, great. And so what you're explaining there is almost some of those role models, aren't you? Because you were in one environment where it didn't fit with you, and then you started to see all these other people around you that you could relate to, and aspire in that sense. Oh, can I start my own business? So it sounds as though maybe some of those people actually were role models to you at the time.
To me, it's more like, rather than thinking about a role model, I think about, what has this person done? And then, do they have something that I don't have that allows them to do it? And if not, then why don't I just do it? And I just try. And if I fail, I learn. And if I achieve it, then fantastic. So it's more so like always looking around to find someone who maybe, yeah, like the thing that they're doing is actually pretty cool. So could I do that? And then I just try it usually if it sounds good.
Be people out there that will relate to what you're talking about in terms of the environment they're either in now or they have been in, where they don't feel there's alignment of values. They don't feel it's a place they want to stay, but something stops them necessarily from making that leap. So there's a couple of questions here for you. First of all, how did you cope to stay around till your bonus in that kind of environment, and also when you were doing your education at university? And secondly, what was it then that enabled you to make that leap and just leave in that sense?
To be honest, I don't think I coped very well. I really hated it to the point where I actually ended up, for the majority of my days, I was just working on like a side business that I was trying to start, which I actually did end up starting while I was in the corporate job, and then also while I was in university. It was kind of like staying quite small then, but it was getting pretty successful. So my outlet was through doing the thing that I actually wanted to do. But the main reason why is because, to be honest, I just think life is too short. Like, time is going to pass either way, whether you make the decision that you want to make or not. And so the sooner you make the decision, the longer you get the benefit of having made the decision. So I think that I learned this actually through waking up early for my corporate job, because I had to be in the office at 6:30 in the morning in London, and I was living in Surrey, right? So I had to take the train and all that, and I had to wake up early, and I used to really struggle to wake up early in the morning. I was not a morning person, but I just set an alarm and I committed. The moment the alarm goes off, I get out of bed immediately and I wash my face. Like, I just put this rule in there so that I could force myself into some type of movement. And it was so hard for the first few weeks. But then after that, it became really easy. And now, even now, 11 years later, I'm such a morning person. Like, I could wake up and then within 10 seconds be on my laptop and be working in a productive manner. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, but I was never like that. But that's because I made the decision to do something that was challenging and to now get to benefit for that for a really long time. Honestly, I wish I could give you how I sat down and thought through it, etc. But I just make a decision and I just commit to the decision. That's it. There was this really great saying I heard one time as well that relates to doing this with a team, which is disagree and commit. And it's sometimes there are just things that you need to do, even if you just don't agree with it internally in the moment, or even with the team initially. It's the thing that you must do. And so at some point you have to make the decision to move forward. And so now I just move forward.
I love that. And you would have seen this in clients of yours sometimes, is this avoidance of conflict a lot of the time. And yet conflict is where innovation breeds, because we can have those disagreements but learn something from the other side. So I love the fact that you've brought that up. So talk us through what you did, because there's going to be people out there again that say, if I've done that, and what people go and do this at this age. So just talk us through that story about when you actually set the first business up, and take us from.
Yeah, I mean, so about 12 years ago, people did not post on social media like they post now. It was not normal to build a personal brand. That wasn't even a thing. And so back then as well, I was 16 years old. So I was in my most vulnerable age when it comes to being a teenage girl feeling judged for my decisions. I think that's the most vulnerable possible type of age of a person that you can have. And so I was bullied. I was mocked. I was absolutely torn down. Why do you think that you can do this? This is so cringy. This is so embarrassing. Who do you think you are? And I would walk sometimes into the sixth form center at school, and it would just go silent because they were clearly just all talking about me, right? So I just realized, do these people actually align with what I'm all about? And they didn't. And so I just kind of didn't care, if I'm being perfectly frank. At the time, yes, I cared. Of course I cared at the moment. But then after a couple of weeks, I just realized either they're going to make a decision for my life for me, and I'm the one that has to live with it, or I make the decision for my life and I rock it And so I rocked it, and I was able to build a really successful business at a pretty young age. And it was really, really fun and it was really hard. But to be honest, like, I think in the end, if you allow other people to control your life, then you're just giving your power away, right? And you shouldn't give your power away because it's your life. In the end of the night, when people are going to sleep, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about their own problems that they have. And then you're the one that's left to bear the consequences of the decisions that you either made or didn't make. So I prefer to just I was just talking as well with my fiance about this. Like, we were discussing the topic of, when we do have kids, we don't want to send our kids to school. And he said, well, it's interesting because the main thing that's going to happen is people are going to judge us. And then that's going to be the thing that's going to be what potentially derails our decision. And I said to him, I was like, listen, I've been judged for my last 15 years. Like, I don't care what they think because I know what I believe. And so it's just I've just got to this point now where I know so many people who think how I think that I just can't care what other people think. If they don't like it, it's not their problem. Like, it's mine, and I'm the one that has to live with it. And so the only way that I've been able to do that, though, is through sheer repetitions. Because every day there's moments whereby someone can introduce an idea or concept to you, and you can listen to it or you can not. And through continuing to live by your values, each and every single day, you're strengthening whatever it is that you're trying to strengthen, or you're weakening it, right? It's just like someone that's trying to lose weight. Every single time they'll have like an F it moment, right? Pardon my French, but they go to the fridge, one little nibble, just one glass of wine, right? Like, every time you do that, you're just weakening yourself. And so you have to continuously do the thing that you know that you need to do.
Super. We're going to come to remote teams in a moment, because I know that's something that you are passionate about as well, and how to lead those. Obviously, a lot of people have found that difficult since COVID if they hadn't got to manage remote teams before that. But before we get to that, just let's talk about over the last 12 years, what do you think has been the biggest challenge for you from a leadership perspective?
Oh, man, even about 4 or 5 years ago, I remember, and I'm probably not someone who expresses a lot of emotion when it comes to business that often, but I just remember I was at this event, this mastermind in Las Vegas, and this one girl that had been my longest standing employee at the time, she handed in her notice. And I just remember I was about to go and speak at this event. She literally handed it in right before I was about to speak. Okay. And so I just remember going back, lying in my room in this Vidara hotel, just crying on my bed. Just oh, I'm such a bad leader. How can I ever become a good leader? I'm just not meant to be a leader. I was saying all these things to myself, and I had such a negative self-talk about it because I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. When I was in university, I'd hoped that they were going to teach me about that, but they didn't. It was theory about the difference between management and leadership, right? It wasn't practically teaching how to be a leader, and there was nothing, there were no exercises to do that. And so the only way that I learned how to do it was to do it. And I kept failing. That graphic where it's a guy with the thing in his hand, chipping for gold, right? And there's this one guy that's about to hit the gold, and there's a guy on the bottom who's just about walking away even though he was about to hit it. And I was honestly like that in that moment. Because then after that, for a period of 1 or 2 years, I was like, nah, screw this. I'm just going to work with a really small team, just me and them. I can control them, tell them exactly what they need to do every single day. And it was just management by me delegating tasks. And I was knackered. I was exhausted. I wasn't able to retain people. And that's because I just didn't know anything about leadership, nothing. And I then started studying Patrick Lencioni and all of his fantastic books. And I really tried to learn, but I couldn't seem to get it to stick. And then I actually hired this coach, Alex Sharfen. And this changed my life because he really taught me what true leadership meant, and also how to have an operational system to run your business, because I didn't have that before. And as soon as I had that in place, I feel like that system gave me the ability to trust my business and to actually lean into the fact that I don't need to call all the shots. The system is the thing that does the work. And that's when I became really obsessed with systems, because only now, in the last 3 years, would I say, well, only in the last 3 years have I had my people tell me that I'm a great leader. Before that, I was really insecure, super insecure. And I think it was actually my Achilles heel for the longest time because I didn't trust in my abilities. And that's because I kept having evidence in the real world that I was not a good leader.
So that's really interesting. And I love the fact that you've talked about a coach. And again, so many people listening to this and watching this think about having a coach and it's too expensive. And we all know why the investment pays off. And you're an example of that. But you still have to, if you've got a system and you've got a great coach, you still need to do the work. You still need to do the inner work. So what was it particularly about you, that inflection point where you could let go a bit more, you could start to trust that leadership that you had?
So he said to me, Lauren, this is going to require some serious behavioral change for you. And I felt really targeted. Like, oh my gosh, he's actually telling me that I need this behavioral change required. Like, I'm not a kid. And only after getting into it, he was so right. Like, because before I knew what great leadership meant, I was just sporadic. I was like shoving. I mean, you can imagine, right? Like, it's just like any entrepreneurial business. There's like one leader one quote leader, one entrepreneur who's just calling all the shots, and it's absolute chaos. And so basically, when he said that to me, I just changed. I totally just changed. It was like I flipped. It's like the fingers just clicked, because I think he just called me out when no one else had. Like, I feel like I had previously, probably just through my way of showing up, I can naturally step into like a leadership role pretty easily. And so I think because of that, though, sometimes people are not able to be so honest with you, right? And so only through someone actually being extremely honest with me did I get what I needed. And I really needed that. Honestly, I had to have that to shift me out of the way that I was acting.
Love that. Thank you. Let's move on then in terms of the remote team. So this is a very, very difficult skill for people to get their head around. And it comes down to trust, as you say, and being clear. So what's been the learning from that perspective in terms of you managing remote teams?
Well, interestingly enough, I have done the majority of my work with a remote team. And so I think there are a number of things that are more important with a remote team. Number one is actually having like a very clear communications cadence and very clear expectations for the team members on how they are going to be held accountable, and then also how the meetings go. So for example, I think this concept of just chatting on Slack all day long is absolutely ludicrous. And I think it's the fastest way to burn out your people, because, well, one of the fastest ways, because I even go into my Slack notifications for all of my team members and turn off the notification color to be white and not red, because that red, it just immediately signals stress in the body that like you need to reply to this thing right now. And I don't want my people like operating from a place of stress. So first of all, having like a clear quarterly plan that you stick to. That's the first thing for a remote team. It's very important. When you're together in person, you can just kind of discuss some random stuff, get some ideas, and then implement it immediately if you're like a freelancer or a very small team. But when there's other people around the world, they don't know what's just happened. So they need to be clued in. And having that quarterly plan actually done thoroughly, so that's where all the strategy happens. That was, again, another great thing that I learned from when I was working with Alex Schaffen. He doesn't run his business coaching anymore, but it was really awesome when I did it. And so basically that quarterly plan then becomes the North Star for the company, right? So then from there, on a monthly basis, you just decide out of those quarterly plans what you do. And then on a weekly basis, you decide out of those monthly plans what you do. And then on a daily basis, you just look at the numbers, right? And then you just check to make sure that everything's on track. So on a remote team, I think actually sticking to that quarterly plan is fundamental. And also limiting this back and forth on Slack. Like getting it in a project management system. I like ClickUp, and doing the meetings, like not skipping the daily huddles, because people always want to skip the daily huddle, but you should always have a daily huddle with your team if you're remote, because otherwise things can go wrong and just get way out of control because you're not talking about what's going on. And also, it's not even as important for you as it is for the team members. Like, they need that support. They really need the help. And I like to be a resource for my team rather than like making them just try and figure it out. And just because like you're a leader and because you're entrepreneurial doesn't mean that the team are. Like, most of the time they like structure and they like routine, which for me is crazy because I hate it, but they love it and they need it. And I want to empower them to thrive, because in the end, they're building my company, right? So I should give them whatever they need in order to be successful.
Absolutely. And as you approach your 30s, which isn't too far off now, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for you as you mature and as you look at the business and how you want to live your life? What's going to be the biggest leadership challenge for you?
For sure, how to have kids. I mean, that's something that every woman goes through, right? Like, I think that I've always thought, oh, it's like really far away, but it's not. And so I have to be very realistic about that, because I will never sacrifice that in order to just build my business. It's just never been something that I want to do. And so I'm just trying to like basically figure out that now, so that by then it's not going to be a problem. And to be honest, I don't actually think it would be, but there's just a couple of things that I would need to just make sure I have in place to be able to have a family and to be able to feel confident. Because I don't want to be one of those people who's like, holding my kid while I'm on a meeting. It's just not what I want to do at all. I don't think it's the best thing for either the business or the child. And so during those times, I would want to take like an extended sabbatical so that I don't need to be doing something.
Love that. And let's think long term. So obviously you've got a lot to give, whether it's with having a family or not. So what is it that you want to leave behind as a legacy, Lauren, in terms of the work you've been doing, what's yet to do? How do you want to make a difference?
I really love showing people what's possible for themselves. There's so much that we can achieve in such a short period of time. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not even yet 30, right? And I think that I've already been able to do many things that takes a big career for many, many people. And I'm really not special, like, at all. I just believe that I can do it. Maybe naively sometimes, but that has really, really helped me. And to be honest, I think that attitude would empower so many people. And so for me, it's like, I want to show people they can actually build a life that they love in all areas. Like, it's not just business, right? Like, and compartmentalizing things into like just business or just career. It's like, you can have your business and your career. You can have your family. You can have your health and fitness. You can have like a really great like traveling lifestyle if you want, or whatever the things are for you, those pieces that you want, like, and a clear mind, right? Like in a calm, clear mind, you can have it. I truly believe that you can. You just have to choose at some point. You have to just actually choose. Any day you can just wake up, or in any moment you can just choose that you're going to do something different. Like a couple of weeks ago, I just chose that I'm going to start taking dance classes and I'm going to become a dancer. All right, let's go. So I just chose that, right? That is so out of character for me. But you know what? You can. So if you want to do it, just do it.
Love it. And what kind of dancing is it going to be?
So I did a really fun one last week with my friend. It was Beyonce dance. Okay, that was cool. Some Beyonce tunes. I also want to do some like salsa ones. And I did this like hip hop dance. These were a bit different. Some contemporary dance, this gymnastics dance as well. I'm just trying all sorts of ones, see which one I like. The gymnastics was my favorite though so far. That was really fun.
Yeah, I love it. So Lauren, if anyone wants to get in contact with you because they're interested in what you do, or they love your energy, or they relate to your story, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
Yeah, like all things leadership, I talk about that on LinkedIn. So it's just my name, Lauren Tickner. That is LaurenTickner. And yeah, my messages, you can always shoot me a message if you have any questions or anything. Been sharing a lot of articles on LinkedIn lately, which has been pretty fun. And yeah, this was great. Andrew, thanks so much for having me. Like, the work you do with your clients is amazing as well. Everybody should get a coach. And if you guys have been like, thinking about getting coaching or working with Andrew, you guys for sure should reach out to him, because I've seen like the amazing work that you do with your clients. And yeah, I mean, if you don't have a coach, you're just leaving so much behind. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here. Like, I really do mean that. So appreciate you, Andrew, as well for having me on the show.
Yeah, well, I'm very jealous of you being in Bali. Enjoy the rest of the time there. And Lauren, thanks for being on the show today.
Cheers. And thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate you all.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Confessions of a Successful Leader. You can access all previous episodes of the show at confessionsofaSuccessfulLeader.com. If you are interested in finding out more about conscious leadership and self-coaching, just type in Andrew Talents into LinkedIn or your favorite browser, and you'll find my contact details and all the content that you need. Until next time, don't forget to stay present, curious, and above all, conscious.